WWE sucks.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Transitional Champion podcast.
Are we gonna make it to Mania?
I don't know, man. Fastlane, like I'm almost at the point where I kind of want to sit out Fastlane, except the main event. I want to see the main event. But
what an ironic name for a pay-per-view, because that sounds like exciting, you know?
Fastlane.
Yeah.
Well,
Chamber was boring, man.
Chamber was a whole lot of nothing. Like there was not a single match that was great.
It had some bright spots.
The only time that I was really like invested in the show was when it came down to Kofi and Bryan in the chamber towards the end, and it made me go, they should have just done a match with these two instead of doing this big dumb chamber.
Well, you're gonna get that next month at WWE Fastlane.
Or is that 2 weeks?
Well, that'll be next month.
3 weeks? Wait, I'm just trying to think. How much time do I have? 1, 2. Oh no, it's 3. So we have another Raw and SmackDown, and then another Raw and SmackDown, and then we'll get Fastlane.
2 weeks of build. Let's see what they can do. I'm gonna guess a whole lot of nothing.
All right, okay. This may be the one time that we get this done in an hour because there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this.
Right.
And again, they started it early again. They started it at 6 instead of 7 Central Time.
I don't watch them live anymore. I just catch them after the fact. It's easier. I can skim through it, you know.
I went over and again, just like what happened with Royal Rumble, I got there at like 6:15 for 7 o'clock, what I thought was the 7 o'clock pay-per-view, and we turn it on and it's like the women's chamber match.
Oh yeah, that went on for about a good hour and a half. Yeah.
All right, so I did go back and watch the other stuff later, which I probably shouldn't have. Well, no, I take that back because we did get Buddy Murphy and Tozawa, and that was a good match. That was probably but technically it wasn't on the pay-per-view.
I know they need to just start putting those guys on the main card and not the kickoff show. I hate that they do that because it's a good way to cruiserweights always have been to get the crowd energized and ready for the show. If you put that on the main card, because no one watches the kickoff show hardly. If you put them on that main card, then it'll be like, all right, this is going to be a good show.
Well, especially
even if the rest of it sucks, at least you come out of the gate like ready to roll.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like they're trying to start it earlier for like little kids because they want more little kids watching. So if they start it an hour earlier and it ends an hour earlier, then it's less horrible for people who have younger kids if they want to try to get to watch the product. So maybe that has something to do with it. But when it started, so I'm looking at the thing right now. It does say 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Kickoff begins at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. So it did say it on the thing, but I see the numbers and it just flashes right by because I always assume it's always going to be at the same time. So I don't know, but I have to say, with the Buddy Murphy match was not technically on the pay-per-view, so I can't say it was the best match of the pay-per-view, but it was probably the best match of the night altogether.
I mean, that makes sense. Buddy Murphy's been putting on clinics lately. He's a good talent. A lot of those cruiserweights are good talents.
I mean, I don't really have anything else to add other than the fact that they keep screwing that up. So
he did retain, right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm assuming he'll end up dropping the belt at Mania on the kickoff show, the 4-hour kickoff show before the 6-hour main card.
Yeah, that I'm guessing you're right. I'm guessing he'll drop the title and then he'll come out on Raw or SmackDown. I'm guessing more likely SmackDown the next night.
I would hope SmackDown. If he goes to Raw, then he'll just completely get misused.
Yeah.
And get lost in the shuffle.
All right, let's see. We got a Kevin Owens video. He was watching pizza with his kids and watching Elimination Chamber with his family because he's a great guy now, big family man. We had Mark Henry backstage because they were doing the Mark Henry documentary thing.
Yeah.
So he picked the Iconics to win and for Kofi to win, and everybody in the arena started chanting for Kofi. So they made it very clear.
That? How about that?
Yeah, huh?
They let Kofi go out there, actually do his thing, get his shit in, and then all of a sudden the crowd gets behind him. How about that? It was organic.
Well,
no,
but I mean, I feel like the crowd was behind Kofi Kingston back when he was doing the Jamaican gimmick, and the crowd was behind Kofi Kingston when he joined up with the New Day, and the crowd was with him when the New Day like turned bad for like a month. I mean, I just think everybody has always liked Kofi, but you know,
I think they've always liked him, but I think he wore thin, or starting to, at least. That's why.
Well, I think he was always too small, so he always got treated like, you know, like Big E was a guy that they tried to push as a bigger dude for a while, and it didn't go. He just doesn't have.
They tried to push him as like that silent, like, no, like in New Day, you see like he's actually got charisma, and
yeah,
let him be goofy. Like he can make that work if he wants to. Trying to pigeonhole him and like, well, you got to be big, mean, and serious.
Well, and even Xavier Woods though has more of a physique. He's more of a
true.
You know, the bigger, thicker body type. Kofi's a smaller body type, so I think they just look at him and go, no, he's not a guy who can do it. So, you know, they just like everybody always seemed like a Jeff Hardy thing. Like everybody always liked him. Everybody pops for all his stuff. Everybody, you know, enjoys watching him out there. Probably sells a good amount of merchandise, but they go, he's just not the guy. He's not the big dude. He's not the person we want. So,
well, that's why you got 2 brands and 2 top titles, huh? You can
just.
I don't know. I'm veering more towards SmackDown a lot lately.
Well, especially after this week, SmackDown was definitely the better show. But all right. We got the chamber match. We got Bayley and Sasha, Nia Jax and Tamina, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, the Iconics, Naomi and Carmella, and they put up a screen beforehand that actually like laid out what the match was and what the rules were and how it was going to work, and it actually said, after a predetermined amount of time, another pod will be opened. It didn't say 2 minutes. It didn't say 90 seconds. It didn't say 5 minutes. It just said a predetermined amount of time. So in other words,
whenever
everybody got their moves in,
whenever they want,
then we'll open the next pod.
I mean, this match was okay. It just went on way too long. That match was so long.
It was, and it wasn't good. Like it wasn't. They wanted everybody to get these moves in. They had these storyline points with like the Iconics and how they were, you know, like beating everybody and they were doing really good, and then everybody all at once turns against them and whatever. But it's still like none of it.
And they didn't really use the chamber.
That's what I was going to say. None of it really had to do with the chamber. Like they could have just done a 4 quarters tag match.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've hated a lot about the recent chamber matches and like Hell in a Cell. Like they're not actually using any of it. It's just like they're having a match. And I'm like, well, what's the point?
I mean, they did a spot where Nia Jax, did she get thrown through the glass?
Oh, they
like Sasha, I think maybe threw through glass or something.
Did Michael Cole make it a point to point out that it is bulletproof glass or whatever?
Yeah,
and I'm like, sure. Michael Cole's the worst. God, I'm so tired of hearing him. I saw some news thing that they're looking into moving him into a new role. They don't know when it'll be, and I'm like, please soon. Please, sir.
You know, and it's one of those things. Vince always thought that Michael Cole was a jewel in the crown of WWE because he had been a legitimate news reporter.
Yeah,
who had gone to Kosovo. Unlike Hillary, when he went to Eastern Europe, there were snipers shooting at him. So he went through an actual war zone. He actually had on the field, you know, war reporting. Whatever. So he's like, great, and we can sign him. He's a fan of wrestling. We can bring him in. And then they bring him in. He's just not good at, you know, fancy lad underwear.
Well, he called, what was it? Was it the UK? Yeah, it's when they were crowning the UK champion, like a couple years back when he called that show, and even when he did that one house show that they did in Japan that was on the network.
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't have Vince in his ear the entire time, just being like, "Okay, yes, sir, whatever you want," like he's fine. Like you hear glimpses of like he can be good, but
right. Yeah, I know what you mean, because he'll say some of these really big over the top lines, and he's like, "This is the most brutal finisher we've ever seen," and you're listening to it, you're just like, "No, it's not." He did it like a drop toe hold. Like what do you? Because he's got Vince yelling at him.
Yeah.
So he's trying to yell like Vince and deliver the lines, and it just comes out as so corny and so.
If you want to hear Michael Cole actually call wrestling pretty well, go and check out those shows. I watched him. I was like, wow, he doesn't suck. He is capable. It's just, I mean, Vince is the problem. Anyway, well, let's get through this.
All right. So anyway, it came down to Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Sonya Deville and was it Mandy Rose?
Yeah.
And the story for the last 2 weeks has been that Sasha really couldn't do a whole lot in the matches, so Bayley was doing all the work. So in this one, Bayley gets thrown into the pod and like knocked out, whatever. So Sasha goes to check on her, and then Sasha has to go and take out the other two by herself. And so
it actually did seem kind of. I think I'm remembering the spot correctly. Like Bayley did kind of like hit the corner of like the door of the pod, so it did actually look sort of devastating. Anyway,
meh. So anyway, what do they call themselves? The Hug and Boss Connection or something dumb like that. They ended up winning.
I thought it was. Is it Hug and Boss or is it Boston Hug?
But Boss Hog is all I can think of every
Boss
time I hear
Hog.
it.
There we go.
They're trying to do like Rock and Sock, but it just Rock and Sock rhyme.
Yeah.
Boss and Hug do not. So it's not the same. It's terrible.
I should have just went with like the Hug and Thug connection. But she's not really thuggy. She's the boss.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, we had Shane McMahon and The Miz versus the Usos.
Oh, did you even say that Sasha and Bayley won?
Yeah.
Did you?
That's what I just said.
Oh,
That's when we started the whole Boss Hog connection.
New women's tag team champ. Supposedly they are going to bounce between the brands, which makes sense because there's not enough. There's not enough to just.
Right now, there's just the one tag title. So just like before, when they did the men's tag titles, they had them go back and forth until they made Raw and SmackDown version. Yeah,
but I digress.
If you can make an extra belt, you can sell an extra belt.
Yeah. Yeah, but is anyone really clamoring to buy like the new tag titles at all? I can't imagine they are, unless it's like some avid collector who's got every single belt.
Exactly, someone who collects every single belt.
What a waste of money!
And it's I was going back and looking. I always thought, in my mind, I had always remembered that the Raw belt was the old tag champion belt, and they made new belts for SmackDown. I went back and looked. The old belts were actually different. It was the same design, but it was like copper plates.
Yeah, it was the penny belts.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So
now they're both nickel belts.
Right. So they can make 3 belts for someone to buy instead of 1.
I'm honestly surprised that they had the women's tag titles look different. I figured those would just be like ugly penny belts too.
And the women's tag belts look like the X Division championship from Impact. It's weird.
Yeah. I'm sure they all like kind of contact the same handful of people. I remember that's how it used to be.
Well, I remember years ago they had one guy that they got everything through, and then I want to say when they went for the spinner belt, maybe around that era is when when they went to the new undisputed title, when Brock Lesnar got the new like back in 2003 or whatever, when he got that when they went to that weird shaped belt, instead of being a round plate, they went to that oblong thing. And that's when they switched to a different guy. They went back to the old guy for 1 or 2, but then basically moved on. And I guess because that original guy, they wanted him to be exclusive and to not make copies of belts for other people. And he was like, no, there's no, like, making copies of these belts is how I earn a living. And so they switched to some other guy who I guess said he wouldn't make them. So of course other people make them now for people to buy online. But anyway. Okay, so we had the Usos versus McMahon and The Miz, and Shane McMahon and The Miz keep calling themselves like the greatest tag team of all time or something like that, which is Shane looked bad. Like he looked like he was gonna have a heart attack at any moment. His face was purple, he was sweating heavy, he was like me trying to jog around the block. If you can imagine me after about 4 houses trying to jog around the block, that's what Shane looked like about 2 minutes into this match.
Yeah, he's starting to look a little rough. I don't know what's sort of taking its toll on him, but he seems to be aging quite rapidly.
He's not doing the cardio like he used to. That seems to be very clear. So anyway, the Usos actually won, which shocked the crowd.
Yeah, get pulled over, drunk, wanting to fight a cop. Here's your tag team championship.
You know, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Was there any fallout from that at all? I heard nothing.
Like on the show, or you mean on
just like in?
Oh, you mean from the Usos?
Yeah, regarding that. Yeah. No. All right.
Nope.
Okay. It must have just been cut and dry and done then.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, whatever it was, they may have booked him, and then just said like, "Hey, pay a fine, and we'll let you go." And he paid the fine, and he was gone, and that was it, and it was over. And so they said, "Okay, it's no big deal."
All right. Cool mugshot.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in a handicap match for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, see, I thought this was just Finn versus Bobby Lashley. Once I found out that it was a handicap match, as I'm watching it, I'm like, all right, Finn's gonna win the belt. He's gonna beat Lio and take it.
And
look at that. That's what they did.
And I have to say, like, Finn Balor can be a talent. Bobby Lashley can be a talent. Them together in this match,
there's not the chemistry's not really there.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley needs to be fighting like a Batista,
or Brock Lesnar.
Yes, somebody like that. Somebody, but he and Finn Balor, it just did not work. But Finn Balor won.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, there you go. And so then Lashley, and Balor won by pinning Lio Rush. So then Lashley grabs Lio Rush like he's going to hit him or do something to him. And the crowd is, yeah, do it. Go for it. Go for it. He looks at the crowd and he's like, nah, you guys want it. I'm not going to do it. He lets go and then grabs him and hits him anyway.
Yeah, funny how that'll play out.
Or slammed him, I guess, is what he did.
Yeah, it's like that weird like spine. They call it a spine buster. I'm like, that looks more like a choke slam to me, but whatever. Like
it doesn't.
Yeah, whatever. It'll play. It's funny how this will all play out into Raw, and I'm like, oh, all right. Well, who's writing this shit?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that more when we get to it. All right. We had the Women's Championship from Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott, and this lasted like 90 seconds, which was
that's a shame.
Whoever wrote this one actually. They should have gotten the award for the night because this is how this match should have been together. Because Ruby Riott is no threat to Ronda Rousey.
I get that she's not a threat, but I would have at least liked to have seen her. I feel like she deserved to have more time. I know
I do not. I think Ruby Riott deserves to be on the unemployment line.
Man, that's harsh. I mean, you could at least have said like she could go back to NXT for some seasoning. It's like
she could go back to washing cars for a nickel.
Wow.
So anyway,
email dirt at
popculturenetwork.com. All right. Ronda Rousey, though, she came out dressed as Sonya Blade because she's voicing Sonya Blade in the new Mortal Kombat game.
That attire actually works out better for her than the stuff that it looks like her boob's about to fall out and she's constantly pulling at her crotch to keep her tights down. That outfit works. Just make that her new attire. It worked out a lot better for her.
Actually, it did look, generally, it looked better. Like if that was her gimmick, like she came out as Sonya Blade every time, that would be better than stealing the Roddy Piper stuff.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, we had Charlotte Flair got in the ring, got in Rousey's face. People started chanting for Becky. Becky Lynch came out through the crowd. She was on crutches. Becky Lynch attacked Charlotte with a crutch, and Rousey was just kind of, like, oh, look at that. Someone's getting beat up in front of me. Just like, whatever. And so let's see. She like handed her like one of the crutches, I guess, and was like, hit Charlotte with it. And so she went over to Charlotte, and then Becky like walloped her with the crutch, and you could see that thing go meh, like as soon as she hit her with it. She like legit was pounding Ronda with the crutch, and I'll bet that was probably Ronda's call. Ronda was like, go out there and just beat the crap out of me with this thing so it looks good. And Becky was like, okay, I'll do it. And
I like it. I like it when talent's like, all right, let's go out there and be a little stiff.
So then they had security come and grab Becky Lynch, and they took her out of the arena, and there you go.
I like Becky's outfit. It kind of had like a reverse Kill Bill vibe to me when the bride's in the motorcycle outfit. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Inverse colors and everything. Yeah, I liked it.
That was cool.
Yeah.
She got it from the same guy where Shinsuke Nakamura has been getting his leather clothes.
I mean, sign me up. Give me one of those jackets.
Hey, we had this classic match that everyone will remember for the next 20 years. We had Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a no DQ match.
But that was a barn burner, wasn't it?
That was,
I think I just skipped that entire match. I was like, I don't care.
That may have been the point when we were like, all right, let's all go in the kitchen, get some food.
Yeah.
And
the old piss break match.
They threw each other around. They fought outside. They threw steps at each other. Drew McIntyre came out with a chair. Bobby Lashley came running out and attacked Braun Strowman. We had McIntyre and Lashley both with chairs beating Braun Strowman down. Lashley hit him with a spear. They brought these steps into the ring. They brought 2 tables in the ring. They stacked the 2 tables up, set the steps right there to them. They had Baron Corbin and and Bobby Lashley on the sides with they had Drew McIntyre, and I forget how they did it, but anyway,
it would have to be Lashley and McIntyre on the sides
because they're the taller ones.
Well, and let Baron Corbin do the actual power bombing.
Yeah. So anyway, they lifted him up, and Corbin grabbed him and slammed him, and so he fell through the 2 tables. And
then Michael Cole will be like, "I've never seen Braun Strowman be manhandled like this, even though it's by 3 people," and I'm sure he probably has.
And here's the other thing, and I understand most people have not worked in professional wrestling. Most people have never gone through a table. But I can tell you a secret. Going through a table hurts less than most places you're going to fall in the ring. Going through a table hurts less than falling on the mats outside the ring. When they set up a table outside the ring and they throw you through it, that feels better than being tossed out onto the pads. When they set up a table in the ring and they lift you up and throw you through it, it feels better than being slammed down on the mat. Yeah. When they set up 2 tables, it's you stop and you go and you stop, and it's like nothing. Yeah. Like it literally hurts like absolutely nothing. Like they could throw you through 2 tables, pick you up, put you through 2 more tables, pick you up, put you through 2 more tables, and you're going to get up and you might be like, oh man, that was kind of weird. And then that's it. You don't hurt at all. So whenever I see them do stuff like this, where it's like, oh, we set up 2 tables to smack, it's like, come on. Like that is the dumbest. That is really, because you watch and it breaks the momentum as the guys are falling. So they're really, and it gives. Yeah. So, it's not like you're hitting floor or something where it's solid. It's like you hit and it gives and it takes away so much of the momentum. The only time it hurts is if like you hit it really hard and the table snaps apart, because then you get all those jagged edges cutting into your back.
Yeah.
But otherwise it does not hurt at all.
But it looks cool.
I guess. I used to work. Here's the thing. When I first started, doing wrestling shows, of course I was a manager. So being a manager, you get put through tables. You get a trash can on your head, and you get beaten with sticks, and you get double choke slammed and whatever, because you take all that abuse for your team and the guys that you're working with, whatever. At the same time, I was working at Office Max, and at Office Max, we would always we had like this table, like folding table return guarantee policy thing. So if you bought a folding table and you set it up, and then like you would pay $10 on a $40 folding table, and then anytime in the next 2 years, if it breaks or chips or cracks or the thing around the edge starts to come off, you can bring it back and get a new table. And so people who do like job fairs or big church events or the convention center or whatever, they would buy these on the tables. So they would do some big event and the table would get all scratched up. They would bring it back and we'd give them a new table and take back this other table. So then we're sitting in the back going, hey, we've got a folding table that all we have to do is throw this thing in the dumpster. Hold on a minute, come over here. And you'd pick the guy up and throw him through the table. And we used to smash tables and go through tables all the time in the back of the store, because you would get all these tables. Like, one time some guy came in with 4 tables. We didn't stack them up 4 high because that would be dangerous. But we did. It's like who wants to go through tables? And everybody's lining up. Put me through a table. Put me through a table. And you just start putting people through tables. And it really, like, it does not hurt. And I understand not everybody knows that, but it's still one of those things.
I would love to do that. Actually,
it's one of the perks at working at Office Max.
Hopefully, Office Max legal team not checking out this live stream.
Well, the funny thing was, we knew about this policy, so we actually bought a table for a show and put a guy through it.
Brought it back. Hey, this didn't work.
Took the 2 pieces of table back and got a new table. And then broke it again, took it back and got a new table, put someone through it, took it back, and then they were like, this is the last one. We're not replacing it anymore because it's obvious you're breaking these. And we were like, okay, that's fine. But still, it was like $120 worth of tables.
Were you still working there at the time?
No, I had stopped working there.
Okay. That would have been funny if you were still working there and you're coming back with the, hey, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Hey, those tables we break in the back? Okay, well, this one, this looks exactly like that, but it's not.
That's not what happened.
Don't. No, but there's so much like turnover there, it's like, I stopped working there, and then by the time we were doing this, like 2 years later, there was like 2 people left in the store that still,
That's a sign of a good workplace environment.
It surely is. All right. So we've talked more about that match than any other, and that match was terrible. All right. We had the other Elimination Chamber match, and this was the main event for the night. So this show really only had, I think, 5 matches. Well, I guess the women's champion match was short, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to the show. And this show ended like a half hour early, it felt like.
Good. It needed to.
All right, so basically, the chamber match, you had Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe, Kofi Kingston, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. We knew that Bryan and Joe were going to be the guys to start the match, and we knew that Randy Orton was going to be the last guy. So you didn't know how the other 3 guys were going to come out into this match. And here's the thing. It was, again, one of those matches where they're in the chamber and they have all these ways that they could use it, and they didn't really use it in any special way, other than at one point, Daniel Bryan climbed on top of a pod to like hide out, like, I'll let everyone else fight. And Kofi did some move and flipped up and jumped on the top rope and was staring right at him. So then he jumped up on top and grabbed Daniel Bryan. But like, otherwise, Jeff Hardy didn't do the like hand over hand thing, like climbing up, into the middle to drop on people or stuff. They didn't do any of that kind of stuff. It was very much, they didn't like do a lot of raking people into the cage or climbing up the side to drop elbows or anything like that. It was just very much, this could have been a regular match where they just, like sent people out after a predetermined amount of time.
Yeah.
And it didn't really need to be to Chamber, and the Chamber didn't do anything. Like Rowan came out with Daniel Bryan, and they sent him to the back because if you leave him outside the Hell in the Cell or the Elimination Chamber, maybe he'll get involved in the Elimination Chamber. Like the point of the Elimination Chamber is guys can't break in, he can't get out. I'm guessing the only reason was because they listened to this podcast and they heard me say he might get involved, so they wanted to send him back. So they made it clear they listened to the show. They're listening, and they wanted us to know that he would not be getting involved in this match.
I want a Baron Corbin title run.
Is that to make it very clear that there won't be one?
Yeah, I want Beefcake to come. I want Beefcake in the Hall of Fame.
I want Ruby Riott as the longest reigning women's champion on both brands, unifying the title.
I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, you would.
She's a good talent.
Jerk.
You just got to give her time.
No, I refuse. All right, so I mean, we got Kingston and Daniel Bryan. They were the last two guys, and this is where it finally became interesting. Like this is where it became a really good match after everyone else was gone, and poor Samoa Joe, first guy out before everybody was even released. I don't know
I don't
know what that was about, other than maybe they were like, well, I don't know, we think maybe we need to do something surprising, and he could have been just kick me out early. I'll just leave.
The thing that I hate the most is like his program with AJ Styles and everything. He comes out and he talks so much smack, and it sounds good, and then when it comes match time, like every time they just make him look like a bitch. Like it just completely negates everything that he's done, and I'm just like, give Samoa Joe a shot. Let him actually talk it and back it up.
He doesn't have the right look for WWE.
Ugh. Shut up, Vince.
All right. So anyway, Daniel Bryan won. He retained.
Yeah,
we knew that.
But we did have Kofi hits him with
he looked good. He looked good. Yeah. He got the Trouble in Paradise. He got the
yeah, that's the thing. He hit him with that. I kind of like popped up in my seat for a second. I'm like, I know that they're not going to do it, but they could. And then Kevin Dunn messed up the camera angle when Daniel Bryan rolled him up after Kofi pinned him. They cut to the crowd shot, which
I remember.
Stop doing that.
But yeah, he got his SOS. He got his Trouble in Paradise. He looked good. Everybody was chanting for him, so it was obvious he was over. So, I mean, if this whole thing was an experiment to see if Kofi really was over with the crowd, and the crowd believed he could beat Daniel Bryan, it worked. Yeah. It showed that. So, I mean, as far as that goes, that part of the match was fine. But anyway, Daniel Bryan won. Xavier Woods, Big E, they ran down. Everybody shouted, "Thank you, Kofi." The show, they walked up the stage. They were waving to everybody. They left, and that's the point where we look at the clock and we're like, "Oh, that's it. That's it. All right, then
it's done.
It was over." So
it was there. It was a show.
It existed.
Nothing overly exciting. Nothing.
It just felt like another.
Yeah, nothing particularly great. Yeah. No. It was just there.
All right. So then we had Raw. They did bring up Ricochet, Aleister Black, Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. They brought all of them up to the main league, the big leagues now, I guess. But they still have their NXT belts.
I don't.
And they're on SmackDown.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this was just a week thing or if these guys are there now, because Triple H made it sound like, and even Finn Balor backstage with Ricochet made it sound like that these guys are on the main roster. So I don't know.
It's weird. I'm wondering if maybe now. Okay, so here's one thing. Major League Wrestling, which is out of Florida, has started to travel. So you've got NXT traveling, and they have a nationally syndicated show. You've got Major League Wrestling. They're starting to travel and do cards. They were just in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, did a TV taping. They're traveling around, starting to do all that stuff. Their main event on the last show was Low Key versus Tom Lawler. and it was fantastic. It's phenomenal. You can go watch that for free online if you go to Fight TV. But anyway, they're starting to travel and gain momentum and get really big. AEW, of course, huge, making waves. They don't even have a show yet. They're not even on TV, and everybody's talking about them. So I'm beginning to think that WWE is starting to look at NXT as being a real third brand. And I think part of the deal is that they want to start doing more NXT outside of Full Sail University, start doing, they do the takeovers, but start doing more like super cards of some kind, do big shows at other times. And really push it and start doing trying to do house shows, go to some of the smaller markets, like where I'm at. Our convention center holds about 5,000 people. It's not a big place, right? They filmed a WCW Thunder there during the final years because you can do that in a smaller arena.
We actually used to the arena that's about an hour away from me that the wrestling shows would always come to. Yeah, we got Thunder. I actually went to the Thunder taping.
It was actually the Thunder where Buff Bagwell got arrested for punching a guy in the throat. So that's the little asterisk next to the WCW.
Nothing cool happened when they came to town.
So anyway, I'm beginning to think, we do get the WWE live events that come through here, and they tend to be like, if it's the Raw brand or the SmackDown brand, you don't get the world champion, and you don't get, like two or three of the top guys, that you see on TV every week.
Yeah, you get one top guy, right? If you're lucky, yeah.
And maybe they do like a secondary show, like a secondary SmackDown live show, somewhere else, and that's where all the top guys are at, or they're doing run-ins at the Raw house show that night, or whatever. So I'm beginning to think that they may start doing NXT. They tried doing house shows before, but they were trying to do them in some of the bigger markets. I'm beginning to think that places like where I live, that's a smaller market, might start getting NXT house shows, because you put 2,000 people in one of those arenas, you don't have to draw huge. And WWE live events don't always, they don't sell out the top tier anyway in the 5,000 seat arena. So you bring in an NXT show, and you maybe you'll take like Aleister Black, and you have him do a match with, I don't know, somebody like Samoa Joe, we'll say, where Samoa Joe is a top talent on SmackDown, but he's never the guy that they really push. They can do an NXT house show, and they can have him fighting Samoa Joe, and people will go, oh, that's the guy from SmackDown, and here's the NXT brand, and it has NXT all over everything, and they try to push it, as doing that as another brand, as another way to compete, to make it where people go, wow, it's not 5 hours of WWE I need to watch every week. It's 7 hours I need to watch, because I really got to watch this NXT product.
Or just watch 1 hour a week and check out NXT, because it's written better and laid out better than the main roster shows.
But it still doesn't feel like a big show.
Well, I would rather it. I don't know.
Honestly, it does feel the same as ROH or Major League Wrestling. Yeah. I mean, they just.
I guess that's just what I want now. I want.
maybe.
I want to. I don't. Whatever.
All right. So anyway, let's get into this.
When I saw it, I saw because I was reading it while I was at work. I'm like, oh great, are these guys called up? How's the main roster going to ruin these guys?
And they may not actually be on the main roster.
Yeah, they might not.
We'll see how this plays
might not
out.
Be.
All right, so Triple H, he went in and he did a very long promo. Here's the other thing. Yeah, earlier in the day, I think it was ESPN or Sports Illustrated, one of those, they tweeted out that DX was going to be in the Hall of Fame, and they showed an image that was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the New Age Outlaws. So you had like the four of them in this photo, and that was like, okay, DX, sure. Triple H goes in and he's like, you probably heard D Generation X is going to be joining the Hall of Fame, and it's It's me, it's Shawn Michaels, it's Road Dogg, it's Billy Gunn, it's X-Pac. He made sure to mention X-Pac, and China. He made sure to mention those two. And then they ran a video, and the video had all of them in there. So I just thought it was interesting that the graphic that was sent out only had the 4 of them, but then when they got to the actual show, they were like, and X-Pac and China. Like, they didn't push those two with the announcement, but once it came to TV, they were like, okay, well, we gotta.
Yeah, I don't know why they. I mean, I guess I kind of know why they chose to do that. At the same time, too, I kind of, man, I'm kind of indifferent to it in a way, because this will be Shawn Michaels' second time in. Is it time for Triple H to even be in the Hall of Fame? I mean, I guess so.
I honestly assumed he already was.
Really? Well, I mean, I know that he's like a for sure thing, but I would kind of, why not do that when he's actually retiring, kind of thing. But I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, all right, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn are going to be Hall of Famers now. Great.
that is kind of interesting to think about it. Like, someone's going to look at, some talent from the past. I don't even know who's all in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Jeff Jarrett's in there too. It's just like, well, I guess if Coco Beware can be in there, anybody has a shot.
Yeah,
right?
But Coco Beware sold 1 million copies of Pile Driver, the album.
Platinum artist.
Because sometimes love feels just like a pile driver.
Can we never talk about that album ever again on this show?
I used to listen to that album all the time when I was a kid. Put it on my record player. I had that on vinyl. I would put that on my record player and play it over and over.
I mean,
these are real songs. These wrestlers are singing real songs. This is real music.
Yeah, I never want to talk about this again on the show. X-Pac being in, I'm all right with that. And honestly, even though China post her wrestling career was not good at all, and ultimately like let her
right.
She does deserve to be
in. She deserves some recognition. She was a big part of the push for the Attitude Era.
And a pioneer, really.
Well, yes, and she sold.
Even if
she actually sold a lot of merchandise.
Yeah.
She got a lot of girls into wrestling. Even and it's weird to think that Sunny and Sable were the big thing, and then China came along, and people were actually excited for China, and she did not fit. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, but
obviously, well, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to have China go out there wrestling Terry Runnels every week, and Jacqueline. She needed to be in there with the dudes because she was bigger than like a good chunk of them. So yes.
All right. So anyway, they're all going in, and then Triple H announced all the guys from NXT, and they played a little video package for each one. It was like a little 90-second thing showing Michael Cole reading the script over it. It was what?
Raw was in Lafayette, right? Because that crowd was dead.
Oh yeah, they were completely dead through this whole show. That's another thing that was bad with the show, is that they lost the crowd early and they never got them back, because these people, it was a crowd of me's. It was a crowd of all these people like me who are watching this going, Baron Corbin, like, really? Another match?
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, which, speaking of, that was the first match. It was Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a tables match. Because, again, they put Braun Strowman through a table, and tables hurt, right? So they had to bring tables out there. So they ended up, like, fighting down the entryway. Like, they were going to fight and go through tables up on the stage, but then they ended up going back down to the ring, and they set up a table in the corner, and this thing went for, like, I don't know, it felt like a half hour. Maybe it was 20 minutes. I don't know. But this went long and slow and boring. And Braun Strowman finally, he picked up Baron Corbin and put him through the table in the corner, and that was it. And Braun Strowman got up to leave. And as he's walking, Paul Heyman comes out for no reason And Paul Heyman's like, okay, you won, now go. He's like, get off the stage. He's like, you won, now get out of here. So Braun Strowman grabs him by the throat and pushes him up against the thing. And he's like, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. And he lets Paul Heyman go, and he goes backstage, and we cut to commercial, which was a very awkward transition.
Popeyes, $5
Popeyes combo, which, I mean, it's good, but it's just chicken strips. They're not really wings. All right. So then they showed, okay. This is the thing. I don't know if you ended up watching the Hulu version or if you just read it online and didn't actually watch it.
I watched the little condensed one where it's just like skipping ahead a little bit, but I get to see everything.
Okay. All right. By not watching this live, you have a tremendous benefit of not watching the commercials for Total Bellas and not seeing the commercials for Temptation Island, which is the other big reality competition show that's going on USA Network. Temptation Island, this seems to be the plot of the show. They bring couples to the island,
and they make them cheat on each other.
And they make the men and women switch up and sleep in each other's beds. And then the whole show is, do they have sex or do they not have sex?
Oh my God.
And then the other person in the relationship will go, this breaks my heart. I can't believe that you slept with that person. And they were like, well, you slept with that person. And they go, well, but you did it first. And this is the drama that they sell to people.
I think I want to shoot myself in the head.
Like, these are the show. Like, let me just say that if you're listening to this show right now, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on the Transitional Champion podcast page, if you're watching this on my personal page, if you're watching this on the Pop Culture Network page, if you're listening to this through SoundCloud or Podbean or iTunes or any of those places, if you're listening to this and you watch Temptation Island, you're a bad person. You're a terrible human being.
Or you just like really bad TV.
Stop existing.
I don't know. Oh God.
And then Total Bellas is Nikki was going on a date with a guy from The Bachelor, I think it was, or something like that. And
meanwhile, John Cena is counting his money from like the Transformers movie.
Well, and then like the two of them are sitting like on a patio and they're like drinking wine, and she's like, "So, what do you think?" And he goes, "Well, I think I want to kiss you." And I'm like, "Oh, crap, come on!"
Yeah, you gotta watch it now.
No, I have to watch the Hulu version now because these commercials are killing me. All right, so anyway, we had Heyman come back. We had Heyman talked about Brock Lesnar. He said he put together a video at his own expense. He narrated it. He talked about how the hero had no hope. Seth Rollins has no hope of winning. There's
I really hate the build for this. Like it's fart in the wind.
Talked about how Lesnar was brought in by WWE, that he defeated The Rock to win the championship. He went to UFC. He won the championship. He came back to WWE, defeated The Undertaker, broke the streak at WrestleMania. They went to a commercial break. They came back, and Finn Balor was now magically in the ring, and Paul Heyman was gone. Balor, he said it's been a long time since he had a championship in WWE, and it feels good. He tried to like name drop Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, and he said now he's the Intercontinental Champion, just like all those guys.
Benoit, he was a good champ.
They did not bring him up. So then Lio Rush came out. He said that Bobby Lashley, of course, deserves to still be it. And so Lashley jumped, ran out from behind, jumped throughout the crowd, got in the ring, attacked Finn Balor. Lio Rush jumped up, did a frog splash. Ricochet comes running out. Ricochet runs them off, and then you had Finn Balor and Ricochet in the ring while Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush went back to the back. So apparently Lio Rush took his licks like a man, and so he and Bobby Lashley are not broken up. They are still together.
I mean, it's best that they stay together, but I wouldn't have had Lashley turn on him. last night or make you think that he did, and then now he's back. Unless they want to go through that whole like just wounded dog thing where he just keeps coming back to him. But then they'll drag that out like they do everything else.
Well, they went to a commercial, they came back, and suddenly we had a match between all these guys. So we had Finn Balor and Ricochet versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. And it's weird because Triple H said Ricochet will be here tonight. You'll see him in action. So obviously they have some sort of match planned, but then they had Finn Balor go out and get attacked and Ricochet came out to save him. So they threw together an impromptu match. So was there like another match that Ricochet was supposed to have with someone?
What a great way to debut a great talent, right? Just throw him in some random throwaway tag match just because.
Especially as part of a feud that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you can imagine, Lio Rush and Lashley lost. I know.
It would make your new talent look really weak if they just shown up and lost in their debut match on the main roster, right? They write themselves in the corners so many times.
They do, but I mean,
just have Ricochet wrestle like a good but just lower card talent. Like have a guy come out there cutting a promo about blah blah blah.
No. I mean, here's what they should have done. They should have had some guy from 205 Live, right? Do a cross, right? Have a guy from 205 Live, someone who's new, someone who's green, have him fight against Ricochet. Ricochet can do his big flippy moves. People can go, wow, this is incredible. This is amazing. Halfway through the match, Bobby Lashley can come out and be like, no one cares about you little guys. I deserve my title back. I want Finn Balor to come back out here. He could, like the little guy from 205 Live can try to do a flip onto Bobby Lashley. Lashley can grab him, throw him into the ring post, break his back, humble him, throw him into the crowd. And then Finn Balor comes out and they do a big thing. And then it turns into a 4-way match. That makes a lot more sense than what they did here.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit, man. There you go. Go right for them.
So anyway, the match was terrible. It went on way too long. It sucked. They went backstage. They had Natalya talking to Triple H and Drew McIntyre interrupted. So Natalya sucks.
Well, they did give her a farting gimmick at one point.
Yeah, well, you know, it's WWE. She's not pretty enough to be one of the main divas, so they treat her like this. McIntyre, he basically said that he wanted Rollins in a match. He should be facing Rollins. He doesn't think it's fair that Rollins is going to WrestleMania, so he wants a match with Rollins. Dean Ambrose walks up behind him, slaps him across the face, and walks away. So Triple H goes, do you still want Rollins or you want me to change it to Dean Ambrose? And he goes, change the match. And they go out there so that they can do a match. But they didn't do the match right away. Instead, they had the Lucha House Party come out and fight Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. And this lasted like 5 minutes. It was a short little match. And of course, Kurt Hawkins lost. And so it's again his fault that they can't win a match.
Wait, so is this going to turn into them like somehow winning the tag titles, or is this going to turn into Hawkins beating Ryder probably on the kickoff show at WrestleMania? Or they'll just put them all in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and Hawkins will win it, and I guess that'll count as ending his streak.
Maybe they can bring back Bo Dallas, and Bo Dallas can teach Kurt Hawkins to Bo leave, and then Kurt Hawkins can start winning again.
I hate you.
You're welcome.
I hate you.
All right. We had Charlie Caruso came out on the stage, and she introduced Heavy Machinery and a neck tattoo doing commentary. He's like, oh, you're going to need a translator to understand what these two guys are saying. And they both spoke fine with no accents or anything. And there was absolutely no problem understanding them.
Oh, Corey.
They were cutting one of the dumbest promos. Like I guess the gimmick is they're big and they're strong. So their IQ is 12.
Yeah.
And so then Lacey Evans interrupted in the middle of the thing, and she does her little strut down to the ring and turns around and walks back up to the stage. And so the two of them kind of look at each other, and they walk out and they do her strut down to the ring, and then they walk back, and she's like, ah, and then the three of them all leave as a group.
That's it.
That's it. That was the whole segment. So,
what a waste of time.
We got Gargano and Ciampa backstage talking about NXT. Bobby Roode, Chad Gable came in. They had the Revival come in. They all started talking about NXT. They started talking about the old names that they used to have and their old gimmicks and whatever. And they decided that they were all going to have a match. So they had a match. So they ended up having Ciampa and Gargano in a non-title match versus the tag team champions, the Revival.
Yeah.
Just so that you could see whether or not the new tag team champions are worthy of holding those belts. And they lost to the guys from NXT. So the guys,
I mean, to be fair, they
won the belts.
Yeah.
For the main brand.
Yeah.
Lose to the guys who hold the belts for the C brand in WWE, which again makes me think they're going to start making a bigger push for NXT as its own brand.
That doesn't, the booking of that doesn't make any sense. What they should have done is had Ciampa and Gargano against Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, and that way there's no harm. So I'm looking at this like, what does this do? You got your tag champs, even though it's a non-title, basically their first match on the show after winning the title, they lose. How that doesn't make them look strong at all.
I look at this as anytime WWE does a show and they show Bobby Roode and they don't let him wrestle is a show wasted.
You're really high on Bobby Roode, huh?
As far as I'm concerned, he should be in the main event push. He should be fighting for that title.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that, but he needs to be a heel.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know why they're like, this gimmick is he's a face. It's like, no,
I almost wonder if it's because he started to get over with the crowd, so they just went full baby face.
Oh, now they want to listen to the crowd?
Well, they don't care with the mid-card guys. It's only the guys on top that they have to spoon feed you. Let's see.
But I enjoy the history because Ciampa and Gargano were DIY when they were a team.
Yeah, and they mentioned that. They talked about
tons of great matches in NXT. I recommend the 2 out of 3 falls match they had against the Revival. That one was fantastic. I can't remember which takeover it was on, but
to be fair, the match was good. But from a booking standpoint,
it just makes no sense.
Why this match? Why did you set this up and do it this way?
Yeah.
All right, so then they had Charlie talking to Balor and Ricochet, and Balor was just like, yeah, it's not about me, it's about this guy, and he walked off. And so then Ricochet was just like, Ricochet turned into Bayley when Bayley did her first promo on Raw. Like
Ricochet's not a particularly strong promo.
Well, but he was on the verge of tears. Like he was so excited. Like I expected him to start doing this at one point, just start fanning himself with his hands.
I do enjoy seeing that sort of genuine emotion, which is why I do enjoy that aspect of the women's championship matches, because when they win the title, especially for the first time, you genuinely see that on their face because they are very emotional about it. And sometimes you don't get that with the dudes.
I guess for me, I have no genuine emotions. So
you're
just a little harder for me.
Yeah, just
they had Bayley. Yes, they had Bayley. Oh, no, wait. First, we got Kevin Owens. We got another Kevin Owens video. This time he's at the movie theater. He says, he's here to watch a movie with his son.
Was it Fighting with My Family?
No, he didn't say what it was, but his son comes back with the tub of popcorn, and he's like, where's the sodas? And the kid's like, I didn't get sodas. I just got popcorn. And he's like, well, then where's the change? The kid's like, there's no change. He's like, but I gave you a 20, and that's just popcorn. And the kid's like, yeah, there's no change. He's like, there's no change on a 20 for a thing of popcorn? And the kid's like, yeah, there's no change. And he's like looking, and it was hard to tell where this is going. Like, is he about to slam his kid through the window? Like, is he going to say the kid stole his money? Or is this going to turn into like movie theaters charge too much for popcorn? He's going to start yelling at the popcorn guy, or like, what is going on? And then he just turns back to the camera and he's like, well, I'm working through it and I'll be back. And just you guys wait. And then he just turns back to his son one more time. He's like, there's no change. And his son's like, no, there's no change. And he's just like, damn it. And like, they turn and walk away. And like, that was it. And like, I was amused by it. Like, it was certainly interesting, but I'm like, what, like, where is this going?
It's the first time you were entertained during this entire show?
Yes, actually, it kind of was. Well, no, I mean, again, the match with the Revival was good. It just didn't make sense. We got Drew McIntyre, Dean Ambrose, and this was like a 2-minute match. They had McIntyre. He hit his I forget what it's called. His
Claymore
kick. Yeah, hit him with the Claymore kick, and they looked at him like he was going to pin him. But instead, he hits him with a second Claymore kick, then goes for the pin, and he gets it, and it works. And so, like, everybody in the crowd is just kind of like, WWE. Yep.
Yeah, we're here. Sitting on our hands.
They went to another Heyman video showing Lesnar destroying John Cena and
get the belt off of Brock. And he needs to go away.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's what this is gonna.
I hope so.
Building up to, but
I hope so.
So earlier in the other video, Seth Rollins has no hope. He can't do this. Seth Rollins has no hope. And then now it's Seth Rollins will never stop fighting. He will never give up. But Brock Lesnar will always beat him back down. And okay, all right. I guess we're going somewhere. We had Seth Rollins backstage, and he said he wasn't going to call Paul Heyman a liar because everything he said about Lesnar was the truth. And okay, Paul Heyman's still a liar. I mean, Paul Heyman's still very much known for being a liar. Yeah. There's still guys waiting for ECW paychecks.
I was going to say, just Lance Storm walks into frame. Like, actually, yeah.
They should just
still waiting on that check.
They did a Mortal Kombat reference the night before. They should have just had Lance Storm pop up, Toasty, and pop back down. So anyway, he said he was going to end Lesnar and Lesnar's reign of terror and whatever. We got to Dean Ambrose appeared, and
that was actually amusing.
And Dean Ambrose was like, "Well, where were you? Why didn't you like come out?" Well, I was doing my match, and Rollins is like, "Have you lost your mind?" And Dean Ambrose is like, and walks away.
That was funny.
And so this is very clearly like Dean Ambrose like does not care. Like he's
on the way out.
He's the kid who passes the proficiency test so he doesn't have to take the final. And so he is done with all his work for the semester.
Yeah.
And so everyone else is studying for the semester and studying the homework and doing whatever. And he's the kid who walks into the lab and he's looking around at all the stuff sitting there. And he's like, well, I'm just going to throw this chemical and I'll throw in a dash of this. And he makes a stink bomb. And everyone's like, dude, what the hell? We all have to study for this final. And he's like, nah, I don't. And just walks out. Like, I don't care. Yeah. And just leaves. That's Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he's I guess the way they're booking him like this, it seems like he's done on the way out. He's losing to everybody, and he's just sort of
doesn't care. He doesn't care.
He's just there. Yeah, I kind of like this version of him though.
Well, he's just kind of looking at it like, what did WWE ever do for me? Really? He's like, honestly, I gave you the best years of my life, and now I'm leaving. So there you go.
Yeah.
Although his wife will still be there. Again, weird.
Yeah, that will be weird. Or maybe she'll try to finagle and get out of her contract or something.
Maybe. We cut to Elias in the ring. He said he was a musical genius. He's the most charismatic, the most important superstar. So you're like, okay, well, he's not going to get beat up. So then Aleister Black ended up interrupting before he could get started. And Aleister Black said the weirdest line. He said, if silence and deep sleep is what you seek, then allow me to help you. For tonight, you will fade to black.
Yeah, that goes against everything that like Elias's character is. And he doesn't want those things.
Yeah, because Elias, because I just waited for Elias to go, nope. Like, I want energy and noise and music. But instead, they just had Aleister Black come down to the ring and beat the crap out of him. So,
Yeah, they kind of had a back and forth match too, a little bit.
Yeah,
Didn't they?
it was. I mean,
that doesn't make sense for a debuting talent of Aleister Black's. That he should have just came out, hit him with the kick, and been done with it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I agree. Well, and here's the other thing. Like, Aleister Black is walking down, and he has all of those tattoos, and they're all like, his entire life story is written on his body, as told by those tattoos.
Yeah,
and it's like, did I miss a gimmick from Aleister Black? Like, does he look down at that wolf on his leg and rub the wolf, and suddenly he has the powers of the wolf, and he wolfs up and
holy shit! I think you're on to something.
Maybe I just
it's like scratch and sniff tattoos almost.
He's like Brainstar.
Yeah,
he's got eyes of the hawk and ears of the wolf.
Actually, you're on to something. Have one of those guys rub one of their tattoos, and then they just get the power of whatever it is, you know. So it's like a tattoo of Yosemite Sam.
Well, here's the other thing: Aleister Black, they're trying to do him almost like the new Randy Orton, in the sense that he's very low on emotion. He doesn't get overexcited. He doesn't get overtly mad. He's just, just that face of determination. He's over tattooed. He's no emotion, very much like Randy Orton. And so they go into this match, and you just expect him to be just clean, clinical, beat him down, destroy him. Instead, they go back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
And it just, again, they cut to the crowd, and you just see everybody in the crowd is just,
yeah, we're here. Like, how much did I pay for this ticket? I could have been doing some laundry.
Some guy in the 5th row just like trying to crush that candy.
I mean, it's all right, man. I feel the same way, but still, you're actually there in person. You can yell at them if you want.
They announced after the match that Ric Flair's birthday celebration is going to be in Atlanta.
Yeah, so next week.
Expect something there.
So that show's going to be god awful, probably.
So then they did your rubber band match. They had Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott in a rematch, even though earlier in the night, I forget where, but they mentioned somewhere earlier in the night that there are no automatic rematches. So if you lose the title, you don't automatically get a rematch for that title again. And I forget who they were saying that in reference to, but they said that earlier in the night. And then they come out here and they give you the main event, which is the rematch from the night before of the person who is not the champion getting a rematch versus the champion that she didn't beat the night before.
Yeah.
And this match went 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So the match at the pay-per-view that she lost in 2 minutes, she gets an automatic rematch and somehow managed to make that match go 10 minutes.
Yeah, they should have just done the 10-minute match last night and then just not worried about it anymore. I hate when they just do rematches again the next night. It doesn't. That's just laziness.
Well, I mean,
else.
It makes sense. Like, I understand the rematch. You get the rematch. If you lost the title, you get the rematch.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But just redoing the same match, which is kind of how I felt at the end of Smackdown. But we'll talk about that in a minute here. But anyway, so of course, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, they both tried to get involved, whatever, but Ronda Rousey still won. And then Ronda Rousey, that was it. And then the show ended.
Yay.
It was just over.
Raw is done.
And you're just like, oh, I guess that was the main event.
Yeah, just what a odd. I feel like
WWE sucks.
Yeah, the NXT guys should have. If you're bringing them up, they should have debuted in different ways. Save it until after Mania. Make them surprises.
Well, or even, Raw in a couple weeks is going to be in Chicago. They're going to be in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Debut the NXT guys in Philadelphia in front of that crowd.
In front of crowds, because these people just seem like they didn't know who they were.
Do it in front of a hot Chicago crowd.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I guess there's no way of knowing that the crowd was going to be this dead.
But and also, how can you as a
and again, the show was bad, so you can't really can kind of blame the crowd a little bit because I mean they were dead throughout the entire show, even when you got Ciampa and Gargano versus the Revival. They didn't really perk up all that much, and that was a great match. So it was a dead crowd, but they really didn't do anything to try to fight to bring them back, and it was just it just made for a terrible, terrible show. SmackDown was much better of the two shows. If you're only going to watch one show this week, watch SmackDown. And yes, again, that is the trend. The trend is if you're only going to watch one, watch SmackDown, because on SmackDown, you'll get the highlights of anything quasi-important that happened on Raw. You really don't need to watch Raw. Yep.
Better crowd, too. Way better crowd.
Much better crowd. In fact, was this even the same place? I don't even know.
Raw was Lafayette. I want to say SmackDown was New Orleans. So same state, but
different towns. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then they showed Elimination Chamber package. They said all of the guys. Well, no, I guess it's not everybody. Yeah, all the guys are in a match tonight, but tagging on teams against each other. So you're basically getting Kingston, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, Randy Orton in the main event. So they're redoing the main event from Elimination Chamber, but mixing it differently to make it into a tag match, which is kind of the flip of what they used to do. They used to do all those guys in a match together that eventually breaks down to a big brawl before the pay-per-view, and now they do it on the show after. Because
WWE sucks.
They do. All right, so we got Shane McMahon opening the show, and he came down to the ring, and he talked about the fact that Ricochet, Aleister Black, Gargano, and Ciampa were all going to be at SmackDown as well. They're all going to be here tonight. And the crowd went, woo! Which is not what they did on Raw the night before. Miz interrupted, and he came down, and he said,
I suck. And
yeah,
my dad was proud of me, even though I'm a former WWE champion. But when I won those tag titles with you, my dad looked at me like he hasn't looked at me since I won the game by hitting a home run when I was 5 in Little League. And I'm going to stumble over my words because I'm the Miz and I do it every promo.
And he didn't shave, so he looked like he was like strung out and hungover. Great. But I think that's just because the Miz like always thinks like not shaving the day he does a live event makes him look better. Like it makes him have more of an edge or something. I guess because when he does shave, he looks like a 12-year-old girl. I don't know. But anyway, I kept waiting for the moment that Miz went, I now understand why we lost, and it's your fault. You tubby, out of shape, no good, purple face looking, heavy breather. You're completely worthless, and you're the reason. And for him to attack Shane, and instead, he just had an Eeyore pity party for 5 minutes until the Usos came out.
Yeah, so like, how are they going to work this into Miz and Shane having a match at Mania? That's probably what they'll go with. They're just extending it as long as they can.
Well, I don't know. I hope.
Gotta drag it out, man. Mania is still like well over a month away.
The only way that they can do a Mania match out of this garbage that would make me even remotely interested is if Miz snaps and breaks the ankle of an Uso, and so the other Uso demands a one-on-one match with him at the pay-per-view, and Shane is like, I've got to give him the match. I've got to set you up with the match. And Miz is like, I can't believe you would do that. Why would you give him that match? We deserve those titles. We deserve to win. Miz starts to break down, and Shane sets up the match between the two of them, and Shane is the special guest referee. That's the only way to make it interesting, because I don't care about any of them as tag teams. I don't care about these tag team belts. I don't care about watching like I've seen Shane jump off the ring post through the announce table several times now. Like that's the last move he has left that he can do because he can't do the coast to coast anymore, and he can't do the Van Terminator or Van Daminator. He can't, whatever. So this is the only way it works for me, and that would at least give it a little bit of oomph, to make it seem like Miz is snapped. So there's something to the storyline. Otherwise, this is all just hot garbage.
So we're just going to stay on that steady road of hot garbage then.
Yes, we are going to stay on hot garbage.
Have you ever Googled hot garbage image, like Google imaged hot garbage? It's just a bunch of dumpsters on fire.
Oh, I thought maybe it would come up with like a picture of me.
No.
Okay, so the Usos are like, there's no automatic rematch. They even brought it up right there. There's no automatic rematch for winning the titles, but we'll give you guys another chance because we know the Miz is going to fail because he's a failure. He's a fraud. He's all Fs. They kept saying, F words. And so he's an A-lister. He was a wannabe A-lister with C-list skills. And so Shane,
they're telling the truth.
Well, but Shane, with all the emotion he can muster, goes, wait. Don't talk to him that way. Okay, Shane. Great way to sell that bit. Shane goes, whoa. Okay, we will do a rematch. And everybody in the crowd is like, oh, okay, we're going to get a rematch. Cool. At Miz's hometown for Fastlane. And everybody in the crowd goes, oh, we thought you were announcing a match for our town. Boo, you stupid. And
I would rather that not be in my town. I don't think I would want to watch that match again.
Well, yeah, but it's always that thing where they like announce the match and everyone's like, hey, yeah, we're getting a match. And then like, next week. And then they're like, let's see. We go to commercial. We come back. We get Aleister Black versus Andrade, who he doesn't have a last name anymore, apparently.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate, like, sometimes gradually you get used to it because they did it with Cesaro. They did it with Big E. They just did it with Heavy Machinery. But I think with his name, the Andrade Cien Almas, that like it's got a sort of like Alberto Del Rio, if they just called him Alberto, then
I think, well, it may be because the wall is getting built and he doesn't have the right paperwork and they wanted like divert. Maybe they're just like, shh, don't.
No, oh my God. I'm surprised Vince hasn't since Vince and Trump are kind of like a little bit that there hasn't been some sort of gimmick, like racist ass gimmick like that.
No, actually, what they need to do is they need to bring back the WCW talent, The Wall, and have him get into
I hate to break it to you, Dirt, but he passed away.
What?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
So The Wall is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that line like 3 days ago, and I finally got to use it. Okay.
Unfortunately, he passed away in 2003. So there you go.
Maybe that's why he never shows up to those reunion shows. Nice.
Damn, hate mail. Dirt at popculturenetwork.com. I don't even know if many people, honestly, I feel like The Wall's claim to fame is when he was standing on that hotel way out in the distance and Hogan's like, look at it, it's The Wall, brother. It's like,
and here's this tiny
100 miles away. Yeah. And there's spotlight on him. And he just does this.
Really, the point of that moment was to let you know that Hulk Hogan has tremendous eyesight. I mean, that he just got LASIK surgery and he wanted to show off.
There you go.
That was the point. But no, Andrade, I actually like Andrade. I saw him watch. He wrestled live last time they came through town here. And he wrestled a match. I forget who was it. Kalisto, I think it was.
Okay.
And they had a really good match. I mean, they had a 15, 20-minute match.
He's a fantastic talent. So it was good to see him and Aleister Black have a match because they've had matches in NXT before, have some history there as well.
Oh, but they did the weird thing with Aleister Black where they had the fake LED candles set up, and they did like the Ozzy Osbourne, like he's like on a thing and it pops up, raises him up like he's coming out of the coffin.
Yeah.
But it got real close to the top, and I guess he was like too high up on it. So like he started to fall. Like it came up and gravity started to take over and he started to like slide down, but he was high enough up that like the ground wasn't right there. He didn't feel it. And so like he suddenly like drops into like Spider-Man pose because like he suddenly felt like he wasn't, you know, touching the ground. And so it looked really awkward there for a second, but then he goes right back into the no emotion, you know, walking down the ring. But the two of them had a fun match. It was actually a pretty good match. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So, I mean, it wasn't great. It didn't blow you away. It wasn't like, wow, Aleister Black is the greatest talent of all time.
Yeah.
But for, you know, 40 minutes into the show on SmackDown, it was a good match.
Yeah. Fade to black. Aleister Black wins.
Yep. Let's see. So then they went to the back and they had Ciampa and Gargano. People started chanting something. I didn't understand what they were saying.
Was it NXT DIY?
No, I had to look it up. They started chanting Johnny Wrestling.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the crowd the night before couldn't care less about these guys. The crowd tonight started chanting an old gimmick.
Yeah.
So that shows you.
Go figure. It's almost like they should have just put them on SmackDown and not even bothered with Raw.
Or maybe they shouldn't have done a show in Lafayette, period.
Yeah, that too.
So anyway.
I have heard that Vince does have a tendency when there are crowds that are just very like, whatever, for like Raws and stuff. He won't do, like, he'll wait a long time before an actual TV comes to their town again.
Last time CM Punk was a big deal, they actually canceled a Chicago show because they didn't want to do it in Chicago when all these people were chanting, doing the CM Punk chants and stuff. And they did a lot more St. Louis shows during CM Punk's last run. So, I mean, that, you know, it's like he does do that sometimes where he gets pissed off at a crowd and he was like, okay, well, guess what? We're not coming back to your town for a while. So next time we come back, you better appreciate it. Yeah. So, but anyway, so they were being interviewed backstage and the bar came out and the bar said, you guys are no big deal. Go back to Raw or NXT, but stay off of SmackDown. And so Ciampa made some takeover joke, like we're here to take over because that's an NXT thing. Gargano said they're not here to set the bar, they're here to break the bar, and the bar laughed at him and walked away.
I thought that was a cool line.
It was a cool line, but the way the bar laughed at him made him look like a couple of geeks.
Well, to be fair, Cesaro and Sheamus are quite a bit taller and a bit bigger than both of those guys. So it makes sense that they're like, haha. And that's kind of, I thought that was an all right way to play it. At the same time, too, we are, you know, you are laughing at the NXT champion and the North American champion. So it does make them look weak to a degree, but same time, too, the bar is not exactly the strongest team booking wise.
Yeah. So anyway, especially not in those skirts. They did a segment backstage where they had all the faces that are going to be on the tag team there. So, of course, they had AJ and Jeff Hardy talking about, you know, hey, we'll put aside our differences. We got to work together as a team tonight. Kofi comes in and the crowd freaks out. Kofi Kingston is on the Titantron. People start chanting and screaming and cheering because people in New Orleans love Kofi Kingston.
And Xavier Woods is holding Big E, which I thought was...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. For some reason, Xavier is holding him like a baby. And you can see Xavier is like kind of shaking a little bit.
Big E's a big dude.
Heavy dude. And Big E is sitting there eating a pancake. And Kofi he goes, some people will bring an olive branch of peace, but I bring the pancake branch. And so he's got a branch with pancakes stuck on all the little branches. And so AJ takes one and he kind of looks at it, and Jeff Hardy takes one and kind of looks at it. And Jeff Hardy kind of looks at it and he goes, and smiles. And AJ looks at it and he goes, takes a bite. He's like, oh yeah, I'll eat this like 8-hour-old pancake that's been, you know, sitting in the production truck for all day. He's like, all right. And everybody kind of looks at Jeff Hardy and he's just kind of looking at it like, Yep, it's a pancake. Would not take a bite. They could not force him into taking a bite on live TV, and they cut to commercial.
Yeah, he was probably getting weird flashbacks about being on lots of drugs.
I was going to say, he's probably thinking, hey guys, I've ingested a lot of stuff in my day. I don't need to be taking anything I'm not 100% sure about at this point in my career.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Ciampa and Gargano defeated the Bar in a match that went on way too long and was not really all that exciting, but the crowd cheered for it anyway because this crowd loves the NXT
wrestling.
Superstars.
Yes. They like wrestling. How about that?
I mean, the match was fine, but there was nothing about it that like set the world on fire. They're all good talents, but they were doing just a simple by the numbers TV wrestling.
Well, it's usually what you get on the main roster. I think that's what I like about NXT. It actually gives those guys a chance to just go do their thing, and they're not subjected to, well, do this spot and this spot, but you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to be a little bit safer, which is fine, but I don't know. On a week-to-week basis, when you're on the road like that, I guess it makes more sense.
They had all of the heels who were going to be in the main event meet up backstage. They went back to the ring, and they had Asuka finally reappeared in WWE
after like 3 weeks.
She was in the ring, and she was being interviewed, and of course, I mean, I feel bad for Asuka because she speaks English better than I would probably speak Japanese if I was trying to in Japan, but it still comes across as so awkward. Like I wish they would just ask her yes or no questions. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like have her memorize one line so she can do it pretty well, and then all she's got to do is answer yes or no. But
yeah, it's a lot of like yelling.
They keep trying to get her, you know, to like answer more in-depth questions and stuff, and it's just always so awkward. But anyway, she said, I don't care about whether or not Charlotte is ready for Ronda Rousey. I care who is next and ready for Asuka. And so Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville came out, and you're like, okay, honestly, it's neither of you two, but I guess we're going to have to do this. So Mandy Rose grabbed them. She had the microphone, and Sonya Deville did not. And so immediately you knew this is going to be a terrible match.
You're not wrong in that regard.
And it was another one of those, they went way too long. You could make the argument that, you know, maybe because Asuka has been gone for a while, they can say that she's a little rusty or something, maybe. But
the way Asuka, the chemistry just wasn't there.
But what they did is they had Lacey Evans' music hit in the middle of the match. And so she comes out and does her little strut, and Asuka is standing in the ring like, what? Like, why are you here? She didn't come out with heavy machinery either. It was just her by herself. And Asuka's like, what is going on? And so Mandy Rose attacks her from behind while she's distracted. And because she hit that distraction, she's able to start to get over on Asuka. And she eventually she gets hit like in the head, and Mandy Rose is acting like her eye is hurt. And so Asuka comes over to see, and the referee pushes her back. And Mandy Rose is still looking hurt, and Asuka comes over to see, and the referee pushes Asuka back. And Mandy Rose is still acting like she's hurt, and Asuka comes over to see, and Mandy Rose grabs her and throws her neck first into the ropes. And Asuka falls back, grabbing her neck, and Mandy Rose jumps on top. 1, 2, 3, gets the pin.
Hey, you remember when Asuka was undefeated and they hyped up her big, huge streak, and now she's just losing to people like Mandy Rose and Carmella.
And she used to do these great matches that everybody loved to watch.
Yeah, man. I think Asuka, and I hate to say it too, but just one of those talents I think just works better just being in NXT from here on out. I don't know. Some people just don't translate well, like bouncing back and forth.
I'm sorry there. I got muted.
I'll probably have to mute my mic actually here in a second, I feel like.
Yeah, we got to wrap up here. Well, we only got 2 more matches. So, but Asuka, as far as I'm concerned, she should always be champion. Like they should just make her like she should be Moolah. Asuka should have a 20-year run as champion.
Yeah. Yeah, and instead they feel the need that the 50-50 booking. Like, they've done it before. It's like Asuka shouldn't be having 50-50 matches against Carmella. She should be destroying her in no time flat. I would like to see Asuka and Ronda Rousey, honestly. If they would have built up Asuka enough, they could have done that. But they missed that opportunity.
Asuka should be the women's champion and should win every match in under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Do that for 3 years straight. Doesn't matter what pay-per-view, what show, what live event. She wins 3 minutes, always retains that title. And after like 4 years, they can start her in a feud with someone else, bring someone up, find someone with talent, maybe build up Becky Lynch or somebody by that point, and they can do a feud. But let Asuka she should just be the champion, and that should just be it.
She should be booked how she was in NXT. That was basically it. She would have competitive matches on like the takeovers and everything, but everything else was just as you described, more or less.
All right,
they ruined it.
Let's get through this rest of the stuff. We had Miz backstage. Miz comes up to Shane and says, "Oh my gosh, Shane, guess what I just heard? My dad will be at ringside at Fastlane."
You almost sounded like Howard Finkel for a second.
Anyway, that was the big amazing thing. So Mr. Miz will be at ringside at Fastlane. So now you know it's on. It's a real match.
Yeah, his goofy dad that just sits there and like laughs at him all the time. That's how my dad would be if I was a wrestler. He would show up, and when I'm getting my ass kicked, he would be laughing at me.
My dad came to one wrestling show one time, and he brought a couple friends. And I think like maybe my aunt and uncle came to town. And so they all sat there and watched the show. And like, my aunt, she was just kind of like, woo, like let's be goofy and silly and enjoy this. Woo. And my mom was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of weird, but okay. And my dad, like, you could have given my dad a newspaper and he would have just sat there reading the paper and just done the thing where he every so often just kind of looks up to see what's going on and then would just kind of go back to reading the paper.
So that's where you got that from.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my dad, everybody. All right, so we had Ricochet versus Eric Young, who I forgot was still even employed by WWE.
Yeah. How about
and he was out there with his stable of other guys who I forgot were employed by WWE.
Yeah, they just sit at home and collect their paychecks, which I guess that's not a bad way to live, right?
Hey, all the more power to you. I want a 10-year contract guaranteed. Okay, so anyway, and Eric Young, actually, I forget that Eric Young is actually a decent talent because he never really gets a chance to show it off, but he was okay. Their match was, fine. Ricochet got to show off his stuff, so
he kind of basically did the same stuff he did on Raw, right? More or less.
Right, except the crowd applauded this time.
Yeah, the crowd was into it. It is amazing how much crowd being into matches kind of at least make you enjoy it a little more. When they're dead, then you're just like, man, it seems worse than it really is sometimes.
So it was another good match. Again, not a great match. Not like this is the best thing I've seen on TV in forever.
But a good way to showcase.
But again, if you're comparing Raw to SmackDown, this is another, this was a lot more interesting to watch on SmackDown than anything we saw on Raw.
Yeah.
They went backstage again to the New Day. Kofi Kingston was on the screen. People in the crowd chanted and screamed and cheered. They talked about how this was 11 years of fighting for Kofi Kingston to get his shot up at the top. This is all the things that Kofi has been working for his entire career. They said Kofi Mania was a trending topic on Twitter. And then they started doing all the intros for this big match. So we had WWE champion Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, and Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, and Kofi Kingston. They had New Day at ringside, and they had Rowan at ringside. Bryan, when he came out, he was the last one to come out. So he said, all of these people, they tried to get the title off of me by putting me in the chamber match, and I still won. So none of these guys standing in the ring can beat me. So there's absolutely no way that this is going to make any difference in my career. And yet you people still chant for these losers. and blah, 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 which was, you know, on the one hand, you're like, hey, that's a great heel promo. But then on the other hand, he just said that about his two teammates. So I wonder.
I mean, that's a good way to build, like, and I kind of zoned out in a little part of this, but was there anything where they're just kind of like looking at him like, I can't believe that you just sort of dogged us just now? Was there any of that?
Not really, that got overplayed. There may have been like a little kind of quick look at each other, but I mean, they really didn't play into it. So they had a match, and call me crazy, but they actually made Kofi Kingston the star of this match. They allowed Kofi to take some of the heat and get a big comeback. The other guys would kind of tag into a move. They go back to Kofi. Kofi got to do some top rope stuff. He got to fight and look good. Eventually, they had Orton. Let's see. What happened? I'm trying to remember how this ended, because they ended up with a bunch of guys out on the floor, and it ended up being just Kingston and Bryan back in the middle of the ring again. So all the other guys were out and fighting, and Kingston, what did he do? He hit Daniel Bryan with a drop kick, I think it was, and Daniel Bryan went to the outside. So then he flipped and jumped on Daniel Bryan and Rowan outside. And then he threw Bryan back in the ring, and Bryan gets up and he hits him with the Trouble in Paradise and covers him, and 1, 2, 3 gets the pin. So Kofi was able to pin the champion at the end of this match, which then brings out Shane McMahon, and Shane McMahon gets on the mic and he goes, I've seen it. We've all seen it. We all know it. Daniel Bryan's opponent at Fastlane will be, and everybody in the crowd just starts chanting for Kofi. They all start screaming and cheering, and it's got to be Kofi, 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 Kofi. Kofi Kingston, he announces, and everybody celebrates. And even the other faces who, like, they just missed out on a chance at the WWE Championship, they were all still like, all right, good for you, Kofi. Congratulations. So this is going to be Kofi's big shot at Fastlane. And it was a great ending, unlike the ending on Raw where you're just like, oh, is the show over? That's it? This ending, you were like, yay, Smackdown. So Smackdown is still the #1 show, much better than the other two. I have lost my co-host. He has disappeared into the ether of the internets. He dropped out a minute ago. His screen went black, and it sat there black for a minute, and then he just disappeared. I know he said he was going to mute in a minute when his girlfriend came home and the dogs were going to start barking and going crazy. And I'm just trying to see if he didn't message or anything. So I don't know if his internet went out. He's in the area that got all the snow and the freezing rain and everything last night. So I don't know if maybe he just lost power. That would suck. But anyway, yep. His internet went down. He's sending me a message from his phone. So anyway, that's going to do it for this show. Thanks everybody for watching. Again, me saying that the show would be an hour was a total lie, but we've gotten closer. Hour and 45 on this one. But guys, don't forget, you can always check out more podcasts if you go to popculturenetwork.com. Popculturenetwork.com is actually the amalgamation of thatnewtoysmell.com, of fansofpower.com, lockerroomhq.com, vglosers.com, beyondretro.com. Like there's so many. It's basically popculturenetwork.com is all of these websites, all these different URLs smashed together in one place where you can get a lot of great content. So make sure you come and check it out. You can check out this show, Transitional Champion Podcast, here on our own channel on YouTube. If you want to go to bit.ly/T, Oddcast, TC Podcast, or you can check it on my personal YouTube channel, or you can check it on the Pop Culture Network YouTube channel, or you can go to podbean.com, check out the Pop Culture Network there, find the podcast, or you can go to iTunes and you can find the Pop Culture Network and find the podcast there, or just do a search on the internet, because I found that there are tons and tons of websites that just grab our feed off of Podbean and redistribute it. So you'll find plenty of places that show this show, that replay this show, that replay the podcast in the audio form. So if you want to find it, you're going to find it. So go look for it because you love us, because we're awesome, even though WWE sucks. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.
Oh, no.